"Shake it off, stop acting like a baby," my dad yelled as I lay there, not moving. My brother just stood there grinning while my mom blamed me for ruining his birthday. But when the paramedic noticed I couldn't feel my legs, she instantly called for police backup. The MRI later showed, I still remember the exact moment my world shattered. It wasn't just my body going numb from the waist down, lying helpless on the cold concrete. It was the sickening betrayal of seeing my own brother laugh at me, my father tell me to walk it off, and my mother accuse me of ruining his birthday party. They had no idea that their cruel dismissal of my pain was about to make them criminals. Growing up as Audrey Matthews, 28 years old at the time, felt like constantly walking on eggshells. From the outside, we were the perfect suburban family in Massachusetts. Successful dad, ideal homemaker mom, 2 kids who aced school. But that was just the facade. My dad, Douglas, was a 6'2" wall of stoicism. Emotions, a weakness. He'd been raised by a military father who taught him pain was just weakness leaving the body. And he'd passed that toxic belief straight down to us, especially to my older brother, Jason. My childhood mantra was, "Audrey, you need to toughen up." Scraped knee, broken heart, actual illness. Always the same. Minimize, dismiss, move on. My mom, Eleanor, wasn't much better. She had these fleeting moments of nurturing, but her real loyalty? Always to my dad and Jason. She was this nervous wreck, constantly terrified of upsetting the delicate balance of our household. If acknowledging my pain meant disrupting that, she'd choose denial every single time. "Your brother would never complain about something like that," she'd say, those comparisons cutting deeper than any physical wound. And then there was Jason, 3 years my senior, now 31. He was the golden child. The son who could do no wrong. Athletic, charismatic, utterly manipulative. He learned early that he could get away with anything as long as he kept up his perfect act for our parents. I was 7, he was 10, and he pushed me off my bike. Broke my wrist. When I cried to them, he swore I'd just fallen because I was clumsy. They believed him, without question. At the hospital, Dad lectured me about being careful. Mom fretted about the bills. Not once did they think Jason might be lying. This pattern, this insidious cycle, followed us through childhood, right into adulthood. Jason's pranks weren't just pranks. They were cruel. And my parents? They'd either ignore it or blame me for provoking him. When I was 12, he locked me in the basement for hours during a thunderstorm, knowing I was terrified of the dark. When I finally escaped and confronted them, they accused me of making up stories for attention. At 16, he sabotaged my science project the night before it was due. I failed. When I told my parents, they suggested I should have been more prepared. By the time I was an adult, I knew I needed distance. I moved out at 18, went to college in another state. I only came home for major holidays. I built my own life. An elementary school teacher, friends who actually cared, therapy to unpack, the damage. But family ties, they're hard to sever. Guilt and obligation always pulled me back. Which is why when my mom called, insisting I attend Jason's 31st birthday, I reluctantly agreed. It had been 6 months since I'd seen any of them. Part of me, a foolish part, hoped time had changed things. "It would mean so much to your brother if you came," she said, though I doubted Jason cared at all. "We're having a backyard barbecue, and your father's setting up the new pool deck. Everyone will be there." By everyone, she meant Jason's obnoxious, entitled friends. My stomach churned, but I was out of excuses. "Fine, I'll be there," I heard myself say, already regretting it. "Wonderful, and please dress nicely. You know how important appearances are to your father." That stung. She knew I'd recently embraced comfort over their preppy approval. Even a small act of rebellion was a major transgression in their house. As I hung up, I tried to mentally prepare. Go, make small talk, give Jason a generic card with cash, leave as soon as possible. One afternoon of discomfort for months of peace. What I couldn't have known was that this birthday party would be the last time I'd ever walk without assistance. That the casual cruelty would escalate to a point of no return. That their refusal to take my pain seriously would cross the line from emotional neglect to criminal negligence. I packed an overnight bag for a hotel. Another small boundary. I chose an outfit that would pass inspection. Dark jeans, a blue blouse, comfortable flats. As I drove the 2 hours, I practiced my therapy techniques. Deep breathing, visualization, reminding myself I was an adult. But no amount of therapy could prepare me for the catastrophe about to unfold. I arrived at precisely 2 p.m., hoping to blend in. The driveway was packed with expensive SUVs and sports cars. Jason's friends. My mom greeted me with an air kiss, her eyes doing a quick survey of my outfit. "Audrey, you made it. Everyone's out back. Your brother just opened his presents." Of course they'd started without me. Another subtle reminder I wasn't essential, just tolerated. The living room was piled with expensive gifts, golf clubs, designer clothes, and then the keys to a jet ski. We got him that jet ski he's been wanting, Mom said proudly. For my 30th birthday, 6 months earlier, a department store gift. Card. The disparity wasn't new, but it still hurt. I put my $200 card on the table and followed her to the backyard. It was exactly as I'd pictured. 30 people, mostly men, drinking, lounging on the new pool deck. My dad, the master of suburban masculinity, was at the grill. Jason was holding court by the pool, animatedly recounting some exaggerated tale of his own importance. He'd gained weight. When he saw me, he broke away. "Little sis, you decided to grace us with your presence after all." His words were friendly, but his eyes weren't. He pulled me into a hug that was too tight, too aggressive. "Happy birthday," I replied, pulling away. "Place looks great." "Dad spent a fortune on that new deck," he said, gesturing to the custom-built Brazilian hardwood. "Cost him nearly 20 grand. Again, the unspoken comparison. No expense spared for Jason. My needs? Burdensome. I excused myself for water, avoiding alcohol. I needed my wits about me. For an hour, I navigated polite conversation with the few other uncomfortable spouses, forming a quiet alliance of outsiders. But as the afternoon wore on and the alcohol flowed, the energy shifted. Jason and his friends got louder, more obnoxious. They started reminiscing, swapping stories that always involved humiliating someone. Then, inevitably, Jason turned to me. "Hey, remember that time we convinced Audrey the neighbor's dog had rabies?" He called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "She was so scared she refused to go outside for a week," his friends roared with laughter. My cheeks burned. I was 8 years old then. The fear had been real. The nightmares, too. "Or the time we switched her shampoo with hair removal cream," Tyler added, slapping his knee like it was the height of comedy. That one was when I was 14. I'd had to wear hats to school for weeks. My parents told me to stop being dramatic. I took a deep breath. That was it. I was done. No family obligation was worth this humiliation. I started to gather my things, but as I turned to leave, Jason intercepted me. "Leaving so soon? Parties?" "Just getting started." His words were slurred, his eyes unfocused. He was drunk, and that made him dangerous. "I have a long drive back," I said firmly, trying to step around him. He blocked my path. "Come on, sis. Loosen up. Have a drink with us. For old times' sake." I knew this routine. Forced camaraderie leading to public humiliation. I'd fallen for it too many times. "No thanks, Jason. I really need to go." His face hardened, the mask slipping. Still the same uptight Audrey. Some things never change. I walked away, heading for the sliding glass door. Just grab my purse, say a quick goodbye to my parents, and escape. But fate, or Jason's malice, had other plans. To reach the house, I had to cross the new pool deck. As I stepped onto the wooden boards, something felt wrong. Slick. I glanced down. A faint sheen. I knew. It was already too late. My foot shot forward violently, throwing me off balance. I flailed, but the slipperiness was too complete, too deliberate. My other foot went out from under me. I was falling backward. Time seemed to slow. I saw Jason and his friends watching, anticipation mixed with cruel amusement. My father turning from the grill, my mother pausing. And then the impact. Not the deck, but the concrete lip of the pool. My lower back and head struck simultaneously. A double blow, shooting pain up my spine. Fireworks exploding behind my eyes. I heard a scream. It was mine. The world tilted, spun, blurred. When it stabilized, I was flat on my back, staring at the sky. My head throbbed. But what terrified me more? I couldn't feel anything below my waist. "Help!" I gasped, my voice barely audible. "Please help me! I can't feel my legs!" Jason's face appeared first, looming. And to my horror, he was smiling. "Nice prank, sis. Very dramatic." He turned to his friends. "She always was a theater kid." I tried to move, to sit up. My arms worked, but my legs? Nothing. No response. No sensation. A terrifying void. "I'm serious," I said, my voice stronger now, edged with panic. "Something is wrong. I can't move my legs. I think I hit my back." Jason rolled his eyes. Still convinced it was an act. "Come on, get up. You're embarrassing yourself." "I can't get up." I was crying now, tears of pain and fear streaming down my face. "Please call an ambulance. I think I'm really hurt." A small crowd gathered. Curiosity, discomfort. But no one moved. They were taking their cues from Jason. Just another family. Drama. My father pushed through. His face a mask of irritation. "What is going on here, Audrey? Why are you on the ground?" "Dad," I sobbed, relief washing over me. Surely, he would take this seriously. I slipped and fell. I hit my back on the pool edge. I can't feel my legs. I need to go to the hospital. I expected concern, urgency. What I got was a dismissive scoff. For God's sake, Audrey, the deck is perfectly safe. I just had it installed by professionals. He gestured impatiently. Walk it off. Stop being a baby. You're making a scene at your brother's party. The words hit me like a physical blow. Even now, literally unable to move, my pain was dismissed. My experience invalidated. Douglas, maybe we should help her up, my mother suggested, appearing at his side. But her concern wasn't for me. People are watching. I can't get up, I repeated, my voice rising with desperation. I need an ambulance. Please, Mom. Dad. I'm begging you. Something is seriously wrong. My mother knelt beside me, her voice a low, angry whisper. Audrey Matthews, that is enough. You have always been jealous of your brother's attention, but this is taking things too far. You are ruining his birthday party with this performance. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The pain in my back was radiating outwards. My head throbbed. I felt nauseated. I think I'm going to be sick, I moaned, turning my head. She's probably drunk, I heard Jason tell someone. Classic Audrey can't handle her alcohol. I hadn't had a single drink, but facts never mattered in their narrative about me. The wire. Sun beat down. Nausea worsened. I was sweating profusely. A strange tingling started in my fingertips. Bad signs. Indicators of shock. Please, I whispered, no longer having the energy to shout. I need help. My father had walked away, back to the grill. My mother was making excuses to guests, telling them I was prone to episodes. Jason had lost interest, back with his friends, loudly discussing the new jet ski. I was alone, immobile, in agony, surrounded by people who chose to ignore my suffering. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical pain ever could. Then, from the edge of my fading consciousness, a new voice. Firm, authoritative, female. Excuse me, I'm a nurse. Let me through, please. The crowd parted. A woman I didn't recognize knelt beside me. Kind eyes, capable hands that went straight to my wrist. Hi there, I'm Rachel. I work in the ER at Massachusetts General. Can you tell me your name? Audrey, I managed, my teeth chattering. I was cold despite the heat. Okay, Audrey, I need you to stay very still. Can you tell me what happened? I explained the fall, the impact, the loss of sensation. Rachel's face remained neutral, but I saw the concern in her eyes. She leaned closer. I'm going to check. A few things, but don't move at all, okay? She gently pressed my legs. Nothing. Asked me to wiggle my toes. Nothing. I'm calling an ambulance, she announced, pulling out her phone. She doesn't need an ambulance, my mother protested, suddenly, reappearing. She just needs to get up and stop making a fuss. Rachel fixed her with a level stare. Ma'am, your daughter has signs consistent with a spinal cord injury. Moving her could cause permanent damage. She needs emergency medical attention immediately. For the first time, a flicker of real concern crossed my mother's face. Spinal cord injury? That's impossible. She just slipped. Falls are one of the most common causes of spinal injuries, Rachel replied, dialing 911. And from what I can see, she hit the concrete edge quite hard. As Rachel spoke with the dispatcher, I saw my father approaching. His expression had shifted from annoyance to apprehension. What is all this about an ambulance? He demanded. Rachel held up a hand. After giving the information, she turned to him. Sir, your daughter has potentially suffered a serious spinal injury. Paramedics will be here in about 10 minutes. Until then, it is absolutely crucial that she not be moved. My father's face paled. For the first time, I think he was beginning to realize this wasn't an act. This was real. And serious. How did this happen? He asked, looking around as if searching for someone else to blame. Through the fog, I managed. The deck was slippery, like it had oil or something on it. My father's eyes narrowed. That's ridiculous. I just had it sealed yesterday. It shouldn't be slippery at all. But Rachel, ever observant, was already examining the wooden boards. She touched the surface, rubbed her fingers together. This isn't water, she said, her voice hardening. This feels like some kind of lubricant. All eyes turned to Jason, who had wandered back over. His alcohol-flushed face drained of color. It was just a joke, he muttered, not meeting anyone's gaze. Just a little prank. I put some of Dad's deck oil on a few boards. I thought she'd slip a little and maybe fall in the pool. I didn't think. He trailed off, the implications finally dawning on him. The silence that followed was deafening. In that moment, lying immobile on the ground, I saw the truth of my family reflected in their faces, the casual cruelty, the willful blindness, the reflexive protection of Jason at all costs. But this time, there would be consequences they couldn't ignore. In the distance, sirens wailed, growing louder, cutting through the stunned silence. Rachel stayed by my side, keeping everyone else back. Try to stay calm, she said softly. Help is almost here, just focus on your breathing. I tried, but panic threatened to overwhelm me. The numbness was terrifying. Each breath sent new waves of pain. The party guests dispersed, some already leaving, not wanting to be involved. My mother hovered, her dismissiveness replaced by nervous energy. Do you really think this is necessary? She asked Rachel. Maybe we could just take her to urgent care ourselves. Rachel's response was firm. Absolutely not. She needs proper immobilization and transport. Any improper movement could worsen a spinal injury. My father had gone to direct the paramedics. Jason stood frozen, the reality finally sinking in. The paramedics arrived quickly, 2 women and a man. Rachel briefed them. The lead paramedic, Sarah, knelt beside me. Hello, Audrey. I'm Sarah. We're going to take good care of you. Can you tell me where the pain is worst? My lower back, I managed, and my head. But I can't feel anything below my waist. Sarah nodded. We're going to put a cervical collar on you to stabilize your neck, then we'll carefully log roll you onto a backboard. Don't try to help us move you, okay? Just stay as still as possible. As they worked, Sarah asked questions. How it happened if I lost consciousness? Rachel filled in details. Then Sarah asked the question that changed everything. Was the surface where you fell naturally slippery, or was there something on it that caused you to slip? Before I could answer, Rachel spoke up. There appears to be some kind of oil or lubricant on the deck boards. I believe it was placed there deliberately. Sarah paused, looking up sharply. Deliberately? Can you elaborate? Her brother admitted to putting deck oil on the boards as a prank, Rachel said, her voice level, but with an undercurrent of anger. He intended for her to slip. Sarah and the other paramedics exchanged glances. Sarah turned to Jason. Is that accurate? Did you intentionally create a slipping hazard that caused this injury? Jason shifted. It was just supposed to be a joke. I didn't think she'd get hurt like this. Sarah's expression hardened. Mike, can you check the deck surface and document what you find, please? Mike nodded, taking photos and collecting a sample. They methodically immobilized me, placed a rigid collar, then carefully rolled me onto the backboard. On my count, Sarah instructed. 1, 2, 3. They moved me with practiced precision, but the agony was fresh. I cried out. I know it hurts, Sarah said sympathetically. We'll give you something for the pain as soon as we have you secured. Once strapped in, they transferred me to the stretcher. Your blood pressure is quite low, she noted, frowning at the monitor. And your heart rate is elevated. We need to get you to the hospital right away. My mother finally seemed to grasp the severity. Is she going to be all right? She asked, her voice small. Sarah offered no false reassurance. She has signs consistent with a significant spinal injury. The sooner we get her to a trauma center, the better her chances for recovery. As they prepared to move me, Mike returned from the deck. He spoke quietly to Sarah, showing her something on his camera. Her expression grew even more serious. Based on what I'm seeing here and the circumstances described, I'm going to request police assistance, she announced. Police? My father sputtered, returning from the front yard. Surely that's not necessary. This was just an unfortunate accident. Sarah fixed him with a level gaze. Sir, deliberately creating a hazardous condition that results in serious injury is not just an accident. Additionally, I understand there was a delay in seeking medical attention for your daughter despite her reporting loss of sensation, which is a medical emergency. My father's face flushed with anger. Now wait just a minute. You can't come into my home and make accusations like that. Dad, I said weakly from behind the oxygen mask. Please, just let them help me. For once, he fell silent. Sarah radioed for police. Then, we're going to move you to the ambulance now. The ride might be uncomfortable, but we'll do everything we can to keep you stable. As they wheeled me through the house, I caught a final glimpse of my family. My father arguing with Mike. My mother lost, arms wrapped around herself. And Jason, still rooted, watching as the consequences of his lifelong cruelty finally caught up with him. The last thing I saw before the ambulance, doors closed, was a police cruiser pulling into the driveway, lights flashing but sirens silent. In that moment, despite the pain and fear, I felt a strange sense of validation. For the first time in my life, someone was taking my suffering seriously. The ambulance pulled away, carrying me toward an uncertain future, but also away from the toxic environment that had caused me so much pain. As the medication kicked in, dulling the worst agony, I closed my eyes and surrendered to unconsciousness. I woke to the rhythmic beeping of monitors, the sterile hospital smell. Disoriented? For a moment. Then the memories flooded back. The fall, the numbness, the paramedics, the police. A nurse, Carlos, saw I was awake. Welcome back, Audrey. You're at Massachusetts General. Remember what happened? I fell. I rasped, my voice raw. At my brother's birthday. I couldn't feel my legs. Carlos nodded. That's right. You've been in and out for about 12 hours. The doctor will be in shortly. He helped me with water. What's wrong with me? I asked, fear making my voice tremble. Can I still not move my legs? He was compassionate but professional. The doctor will explain everything. As if on cue, Dr. Martinez, a neurosurgeon, entered. Good morning, Audrey. How are you feeling? Scared, I admitted, and in pain. What happened? Why can't I feel my legs? She pulled up a chair. When you fell, you suffered an incomplete spinal cord injury at T12L1 in your lower back. The white impact fractured 2 vertebrae and caused significant compression of your spinal cord. She showed me MRI images. We performed emergency surgery to remove bone fragments and reduce pressure, and stabilized your spine with rods and screws. Will I walk again? The question that had terrified me. Dr. Martinez didn't offer false hope, but she didn't extinguish it either. Spinal cord injuries are complex. The fact that yours is incomplete is positive news. The cord wasn't completely severed. She explained that over weeks and months, we'd get a clearer picture. Some patients regain significant mobility, others, limited. It depends on your healing and physical therapy. So, I might be paralyzed forever? The words felt surreal. I wouldn't use the term forever at this stage, she replied carefully. But yes, you are currently experiencing paraplegia, paralysis affecting the lower limbs. We will work to maximize whatever recovery is possible, but you should be prepared for the possibility of long-term mobility challenges. The news hit me like a physical blow. I'd walked into that party a healthy 28-year-old. I was leaving it with a life-altering disability. All because of a prank, and my family's refusal to take me seriously. There's something else, Dr. Martinez said, her tone shifting. The circumstances of your injury have prompted an investigation. 2 police officers are waiting to speak with you. I closed my eyes. My brother put oil on the deck. He admitted it. He wanted me to slip as a joke. She nodded. That's consistent with information from the paramedics. And there seems to be concern about the delay in seeking medical attention after the injury. My parents didn't believe I was really hurt, I said, the familiar pain of their dismissal washing over me again. They told me to walk it off, accused me of being dramatic. A flash of anger crossed Dr. Martinez's face. In cases of suspected spinal cord injury, immediate immobilization and medical attention are crucial. Delays can significantly worsen the outcome. Are you saying that if they had called an ambulance right away, I might not be paralyzed? The implications were almost too much. It's impossible to say with certainty, she replied carefully. But, yes, generally, the sooner a spinal cord injury is treated, the better the prognosis. Every minute counts. Tears spilled down my cheeks. The injury was devastating enough, but knowing it might have been less severe if my family had simply believed. Me was an additional layer of betrayal I wasn't prepared for. Do you feel up to speaking with the police now? I will, I decided. I want them to know what happened. Carlos stayed, adjusting my position, offering tissues. The officers were both women, Detective Sullivan and Officer Chen. We understand. This is difficult, Detective Sullivan said, but we need to ask you some questions. I recounted everything, from arriving at the party to my family's horrific reaction. So, to be clear, Sullivan clarified, after you fell and reported you couldn't feel or move your legs, no one called for medical assistance? Not until Rachel, the nurse, intervened, I confirmed. That was at least 15 or 20 minutes. After my fall. My father told me to walk it off. My mother accused me of trying to ruin Jason's birthday. Officer Chen looked up from her notes. And your brother admitted to putting oil on the deck? Yes. He said it was supposed to be a prank. He thought I'd fall in the pool. He didn't think I'd hit the concrete. The officers exchanged glances. We should inform you, Sullivan said, that we've already taken statements from several witnesses, including Rachel Cooper and the paramedics. We've collected evidence from the deck, which confirmed the presence of deck oil. She paused. Your brother, Jason Matthews, was taken into custody last night on charges of reckless endangerment, resulting in serious bodily harm. Your parents, Douglas and Eleanor Matthews, are currently being investigated for negligence and failure to provide necessary medical assistance. The news stunned me. As much as they'd hurt me, I'd never imagined criminal charges. They could go to jail, I whispered. That will be up to the district attorney and the courts, Sullivan replied. But yes, these are serious charges, especially given the severity of your injuries. They asked a few more questions, thanked me, and left. Alone in the hospital bed, I tried to process. The physical reality was overwhelming, but the legal and emotional implications were staggering. No one from my family had called or visited. Were they legally prevented? Or were they just continuing their lifelong pattern of avoiding accountability? That evening, Marcus, a social worker, came to see me. He'd help coordinate my care, my rehabilitation. You're looking at a significant recovery period, he said gently. After acute care, you'll need several weeks in inpatient rehab, then ongoing outpatient therapy. I live alone, I said, the practical implications hitting me. My apartment has stairs. I teach elementary school, on my feet all day. Marcus nodded. These are all challenges we'll help you navigate. Resources are available for home modifications, vocational rehab, disability benefits. It was a lot to take in. Every aspect of my life had been upended. My body, my home, my career, my family relationships, all transformed. That night, alone, I cried for everything lost, everything uncertain, but beneath the grief, a small spark of determination began to glow. I had survived their emotional abuse. I would survive this too. And for the first time, they would face consequences. The weeks that followed were a blur of medical procedures, pain management, and the first tentative steps toward rehab. I was in the hospital for 14 days. Dr. Martinez explained that while surgery stabilized my spine, the damage was significant. You have what we call an Asia C classification, she told me. You have preserved some motor function below the level of injury, but it's not strong enough to be functional. You also have some sensory preservation, which is positive. I'd started to regain some sensation in my thighs, occasional tingling in my lower legs, but no voluntary movement below my knees, minimal strength in my hips. Then came the legal proceedings. 10 days after my injury, Laura Jensen, an assistant district attorney, visited. The police investigation is complete, she informed me. Formal charges have been filed against your brother and parents. Jason faced a felony charge of reckless endangerment up to 10 years in prison. My parents, criminal negligence and failure to provide necessary medical assistance, up to 5 years each, plus mandatory counseling. These are maximum penalties, Laura clarified. Actual sentences depend on many factors like prior criminal history, which none of them have, and whether they plead guilty. She also told me I had the right to file a civil lawsuit for damages. Medical expenses for spinal cord injuries can run into the millions over a lifetime, she said, not to mention lost wages, pain and suffering, home modifications, specialized equipment. It was overwhelming. Part of me just wanted to cut all ties. But the practical reality was that I was facing enormous financial challenges. Laura connected me with Michael Greenberg, a personal injury attorney specializing in spinal cord injury cases. He visited me the next day. Your case is strong, he told me, reviewing reports. Liability is clear, especially with your brother's admission. Your parents' homeowner's insurance will cover some, but for the full compensation you deserve, we'd need to go after their personal assets. The thought made me uncomfortable. They were still my parents, but Michael gently pointed out my new reality. This isn't about revenge. It's about ensuring you have the resources you need to live as full and independent a life as possible. I agreed to let him file the lawsuit, a decision that felt both necessary and heartbreaking. Meanwhile, my physical recovery continued. After 2 weeks, I transferred to a specialized spinal cord injury rehab center. It was modern, well-equipped, with a team focused on helping patients like me. My physical therapist, David, was unwavering optimism mixed with realism. Our goal is to maximize whatever return of function you experience, he explained. But equally important is learning to be as independent as possible with the function you have right now. Days at rehab were demanding. Mornings, 2 hours of physical therapy, strengthening muscles, learning to transfer from bed to wheelchair. Afternoons, occupational therapy, learning to dress, cook, all from a seated position. There were group sessions too, where I met others. Some had been injured. Years ago, some were newly injured like me. One patient, Tara, who used braces and crutches, told me, it gets easier. Not the physical stuff necessarily, though that does improve. I mean the emotional adjustment. Right now, everything in your life is defined by your injury. Eventually, it becomes just one aspect of who you are. Her words gave me hope. There were days I made progress, standing between parallel bars, new flickers of sensation. And there were setbacks, infections, moments of despair when the magnitude of my loss overwhelmed me. Throughout this, no contact from my family. My attorney said their legal counsel instructed them not to communicate. Part of me was relieved. Another part felt the absence as yet another abandonment. Friends and colleagues from school stepped in. They organized visitors, brought home-cooked meals, set up a fundraising campaign. 3 months after my injury, the criminal cases moved toward resolution. Jason accepted a plea deal. Felony reckless endangerment, 5 years with 2 in prison, 3 on probation. My parents took plea agreements, 2 years probation, 400 hours community service each, and mandatory counseling. The civil case took longer. Michael deposed each of them, grueling but necessary, forcing them to acknowledge under oath what they'd done. 6 months after filing, we reached a settlement. Their homeowner's insurance paid its maximum of $1 million. And my parents agreed to sell their house, liquidate significant retirement savings, to create an additional $2 million trust fund for my ongoing care. It was a substantial sum, enough to cover immediate expenses, apartment modifications, and a cushion as I figured out my future. But no amount of money could restore what I'd lost. By the 8-month mark, I'd made remarkable progress. I'd regained some leg function, enough that with specialized braces and a walker, I could take short, labored steps. It wasn't easy, natural walking, but it was more than many achieved. I was discharged from inpatient rehab, continuing outpatient therapy. I moved back to my modified apartment. A part-time caregiver helped, and I began reimagining my professional life. Classroom teaching wasn't feasible, but the school district offered me a curriculum specialist role I could do largely from home. During this period of physical recovery, I was also healing in another way, with a therapist named Claire. "What happened to you wasn't just a physical injury," Claire pointed out. "It was the culmination of a lifetime of emotional abuse and neglect. The paralysis in your legs is visible, but there are other invisible wounds that need healing too." With her guidance, I processed not just the injury, but the deeper family dysfunction, the constant invalidation, the golden child scapegoat dynamic, their prioritization of appearances over my well-being. "Your family failed you in the most fundamental way," Claire said. "They had one job, to protect and care for you. Instead, they caused you harm and then refused to acknowledge it." Acknowledging this truth was painful, but ultimately liberating. My injury, devastating as it was, had freed me from that toxic system. "Do you think you'll ever reconcile with them?" Claire asked one session. I considered. I don't know. Part of me thinks there's no coming back. Another part wonders if these legal consequences might finally force them to confront their behavior. "Either way," she said, "your healing doesn't depend on their acknowledgement or changes. It's something you do for yourself." Slowly, painstakingly, that's what I began to do. Heal my body, yes, but also my sense of self, my understanding of what family should be, what relationships I deserved. As I approached the 1-year anniversary, an unexpected letter arrived. From Jason, from prison. It sat unopened for 3 days. Inside, a lengthy handwritten apology, the first genuine one I'd ever received. He wrote about therapy, confronting who he'd been, the harm he'd caused, no excuses, no asking for forgiveness. "I understand if you never want to hear from me again," he wrote. "I wouldn't blame you. But I wanted you to know that I'm truly sorry for the pain I've caused you. Not just that day, but throughout our lives. You deserve so much better." The letter left me with complicated feelings. It seemed sincere, but I wasn't ready to let him back in. Still, there was a certain closure in finally having my experiences acknowledged by someone who had been there. My parents never reached out directly. Through relatives, I heard they'd moved to Florida, starting over in a smaller house with what assets they'd kept. They'd told a sanitized version of events to their new community, painting themselves as devoted parents supporting their daughter through a tragic accident. The truth in my family had always been reshaped to protect their image. But their narrative no longer had power over me. I'd learned my truth didn't need their acknowledgement to be valid. My pain didn't need their recognition to be real. This was perhaps the most profound lesson. For someone raised to doubt herself, this realization was revolutionary. I'd also learned the true meaning of family. It's not blood. It's who shows up when you're most vulnerable, who stays when staying gets difficult, who sees your pain and responds with compassion, not dismissal. My chosen family had grown. Sarah, the paramedic, Rachel, the nurse, David, my physical therapist, Claire, my therapist, and now Thomas, a physical therapist specializing in neurological injuries. Our professional relationship evolved into friendship, then tentative romance. He sees me for who I am. With him, I'm learning what healthy love feels like, built on mutual respect, genuine care. Last month, I completed my master's degree in educational psychology, specializing in trauma-informed teaching practices. Next fall, I'll start a new position as a consultant, training educators to recognize and support children experiencing various forms of trauma, including family dysfunction. It feels like a way of honoring my own journey, creating meaning from the pain. My paralysis will always be part of my story, as will the family dynamics that contributed to it, but neither defines the entirety of who I am. Sometimes, when I'm with Thomas, or surrounded by friends, laughing and fully present, I realize with a start that I am happy. Not despite what happened, but in a way that incorporates it into a larger narrative of resilience and growth. Other times, late at night, when pain keeps me awake, I still struggle with anger and grief for what